So we're going to go over the leader model that all agencies can apply to build up a team of A players. When I say A players, it's not just a bunch of people that are doing tasks for you, but people who are bought into your vision, bought into your mission, bought into your company. And the result of that is going to be them creating other leaders, driving the company, you decentralizing the command, which allows you to remove yourself from the business. So I thought to myself, I need to build a team. And so what I would do is I would hire people, I'd give them tasks. And what would happen is they would eventually slump over and they would be discouraged. And then what that had me questioning oftentimes was like, why is this person not working hard? Does this person even care about their job? Do they care about the company that they're working for? I'm never going to be able to get this fully off my plate. I'm still having to check all the work. And then what happens is you're trapped because you feel this like tension with your team. Then you feel frustrated and it's like the cycle. And then you just continue to be the bottleneck. Leader model that I applied to help me really remove myself as a bottleneck, get massive buy-in in our company. We rarely had anybody ever quit because people were so bought into the vision of where we were going, create leaders within the company, and also hire a CEO. The first one is leading yourself. Before you can lead others, we need to first lead ourselves. We need to become a leader worth following. What I did and what often happens is like, I'm so caught up in the day-to-day, I'm in the mode of doing that. From a personal perspective, I gained weight and I stopped going to the gym because I'm so into the work mode and I knew that I just needed to focus on my tasks. I wake up, I'm not present with anything other than all the things on my to-do list that I need to get done. What it does, like for a lot of people, they'll end up getting out of shape. They'll end up having relational problems. They'll end up not being present. What happens is they just start back at square one and then just in this vicious cycle of not being present and not leading themselves well. Our personal leadership is going to reflect in our professional leadership. We often think that we need to be so, from my experience, like this business guy, and that is my identity. And if I'm not being this top tier business guy, then I'm not successful. For me, at least, what was helpful was what am I doing to fill up all areas of the wheel of life that make me more of a wholesome person and lead myself, not just in the career, but financial, spiritual, physical. That's where I started to lead myself better and lead the team better. John Maxwell says something awesome. Before people will follow a leader's vision, they need to buy into the leader themselves. So for me, what that looked like was finding a hobby, getting closer to God, investing in my relationship with Sabrina, learning about the skills that I was doing. And what this actually did for me was it poured into the company because I was leading myself and I was becoming more of a wholesome person and growing as a human, which allowed me to grow the company. But this was paramount in my life, not only from the business perspective, but also just from my soul and my soul's perspective. Next is exciting vision. People buy into a vision. They don't buy into a task. What happens is we hire people, give them a task, and they start doing this as the task. Then eventually their endurance starts to go down and you start to feel frustrated. And then you're back on this hamster wheel. Without a vision, the people will perish. You're not going to continue to work. Like, what's the point of actually working? If you don't have a vision of where you're going, it's going to be really hard to endure and really hard to continue to work in the day-to-day, especially as an entrepreneur, because you don't have that vision that's pulling you towards what you're doing every single day. Same goes for who you're hiring. When you hire someone, the first thing that they're going to think about is, what is in it for me? That's what they're thinking. We need to have a strong vision. The biggest thing that we need to include in strong vision is purpose. Where am I going and why does this matter to me? What we need to do as a company is we need to set the vision for the employee. That starts with you, obviously, just identifying that, making sure you're really clear in your company vision. Where's the company going so that the person can be in line with the company vision. 2 is to communicate growth potential and role. So making sure that if you are hiring an editor, what's the growth trajectory, hopefully, is communicating the next step. And then lastly, follow through. And then lastly, there's gold in everyone, and we can dig it up. Everybody that you're hiring is a human and they have gold in them, meaning they have skill sets. We as leaders can pull that from them and really coach them up into what their potential is. That should be our sole job as leaders. A is accountability. Without accountability, leadership is just lip service. So what I see a lot is people get frustrated with their team and they will do this. They'll avoid confrontation because whether it's they don't know how to communicate, they fear confrontation, it's really easy to justify not confronting somebody in the moment, especially. And then what happens is you just go back to being frustrated, you build resentment, your team doesn't respect you because you're not holding people to a certain standard, you're gonna have resentment, and ultimately it's gonna be bad culture. What I think about is like a team. If I'm an NFL team and I'm trying to win the championship, if I'm a coach of the team and I have the quarterback, wide receiver continue to show up late and I deem that as acceptable, what do you think the other people on the team are feeling? They're thinking, wow, it's acceptable for me to show up late. So if we don't have a standard, if we don't have the accountability in place, if we're not holding our team accountable, it's gonna be really hard to actually build the people up. One of my favorite quotes just on culture is just what you allow. If somebody's consistently showing up late, if somebody's consistently having a late project, if somebody isn't responding in Slack within a specific time or based off of the expectations that you have, other people are going to see that and then they're going to deem that as something that is acceptable. What we just need to do is one, set expectations, like what are the expectations that are expected from you as a owner and just for the role. We need to enforce the expectations and we need to not avoid the confrontation. What we have a culture of is a really tight feedback loop. I know in my head, if John does something that I don't like, if John does something that makes me feel some type of way, I'm not going to sit on it and maybe talk like 2 months later. I'm going to immediately gut reflex, pick up the phone, pick up my keyboard, and share what is causing me to feel a little bit frustrated and make that a part of the culture, because that creates the standard of accountability. That should be the standard for the company, which will help build up the people who can grow with the company as you guys grow. So from like an accountability perspective, like what I like to do practically is ask for feedback, ask if it's okay to share some feedback, sending a voice note just with some context. Things can be really misinterpreted via text. I'm not delaying it, just making it a part of the culture, and then use extreme ownership. We're not going to point the fingers at people. We're going to say, what can I do to better set you up for success to make sure that you're delivering this product on time? If it feels uncomfortable when you do hold people accountable, you're probably doing something right as a leader, because what you're doing is you're bringing people up to the standard, and the more that you build people up, then the more that you're coaching them up to meet the standard of which the company is growing at. One of my favorite pictures that everybody should take a mental screenshot of is, if you want to make everyone happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. It's not easy to do what we're doing. It's not easy to manage people. It's not easy to hire people. It's not easy to deal with humans. D is drive empowerment. So micromanagement kills creativity and stifles growth. Real leaders empower their teams to innovate and excel. Human nature tells us that we want control. That's what human nature is. It's like we want to feel a sense of control. What we don't want to do is we don't want to sit there and micromanage someone and not give them any sort of control and continue to make you the bottleneck. Micromanaging, or just not empowering people, essentially is opposite of empowerment, is literally going to lead to decreased employee morale, impaired creativity and innovation, especially if we're managing creatives, which if we're just managing them from a task perspective, like how do you think that person feels when they're hired to be creative? Reduce productivity because they feel like worried and they're not actually get stuff done. I'm gonna go somewhere else where I can be more creative, so they're just gonna leave, and then stress and burnout. So what has helped me and what I've realized is that enlarging others will make you larger. So if we can empower others to grow, that's gonna make me larger. That's gonna make the company larger. And having the culture of empowerment allows us to focus not on just getting the task done, but how do I empower this person to enlarge themselves, to be a better leader, to learn this skill, to learn this task, so that then that will then correlate into the business. It will correlate into the people that they end up leading, et cetera, et cetera. I love Jocko. He says, in chaotic, dynamic, and rapidly changing environments, leaders at all levels must be empowered to make decisions. Decentralized command is a key component to victory. That's one of his key points in extreme ownership. You will not be great unless you empower other people to be great. Last point is just leaders create leaders. Like that's what we want to think about, is how do I not just have somebody do a task for me, but how do I look at this person as a future leader of my company? How do we see people as leaders? How do we create leaders so that they can lead people underneath of you, and then they can think like you, act like you, and make decisions on your guys' behalf? E is for engagement. Leaders who fail to engage and include their team in the vision are paving the way for disengagement and mediocrity. Like oftentimes in the corporate world, in the business world, it's like we have the leaders and then we have the employees. And what happens is the employees are like, okay, what's actually happening? Like there's this separation, this weird separation. In reality, it should be a team effort. If we have a team, it's not just you making the decisions, but it should be a we making the decisions. How do you include your team in decisions that you guys are making? Because what will happen is they'll be bought into the decision and they'll be more eager to actually build it. How we did this practically was we would have with our team members, don't care the role, don't care the tenure. One-to-ones were paramount for keeping people in the loop with what's going on. And the other thing was team meetings. Like what we're doing is we're just giving transparency, because what happens is the editor, the social media manager, the strategist you have on the team doesn't really know like what you are working on as an owner. And then my boy John Maxwell, including your team in decisions not only strengthens the organization, but fosters a sense of ownership, commitment, motivation among the team members. So we need to not have this like separation. Everybody on your team we should look at as a leader, and we need to cultivate that through transparency. We need to cultivate that through seeing people as it. We need to cultivate that through treating them as such. Our last point is relatability. Leadership is relatability. Like I used to think when I was growing up, oh my God, CEO, they're like king, they're on this like hierarchy, they're this like boss thing. Like I could never talk to somebody, I could never do anything like that because they're this like high status title person, which is completely off base from the case of what I currently believe now. And one of the like biggest skill sets that I learned, which was really challenging for me, is empathy. I was that guy who would just like mask everything, not share my feelings with myself or my team, not really care about like what the team was doing. But once I understood just human nature and empathy as I started to build a team, then I was able to relate with them, which allowed me to be a better leader and figure out ways that I can equip them and make sure that the expectations are in fact in line. Yeah, they work for you. Yeah, they have expectations, but they're also human. Like that's the most important thing that we just need to realize, is that everybody that's working for us is a human just like you are, and we need to treat them as such, and they have feelings, they have situations, and the more that we can empathize with their situation and realize that they're not going to be an entrepreneur grinder probably like you ever, and you can acknowledge that with them, the more your leadership is going to increase. My boy John Maxwell again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one of his laws in his book, 21 Laws of Irrefutable Leadership, is the law of connection, which says, true leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. The stronger the relationship and connection between individuals, the more likely the follower will want to help the leader. If you're just looking at the team as a task, if they're just seen as a task, like why would they want to actually buy in? Why would they want to go above and beyond? Then he labels 6 keys to connection: personal authenticity, relationship, approachability, mutual respect, belief in people, and meaning in depth. So what's helped me with this is just getting to know them on a personal level. Have fun with them. So if you guys do have in person and even virtually, like have fun with them, like do events and let your hair down as a leader, not just be on all the time. Again, the last point really on this is vulnerability. That's helped me. Like the heart of leadership is connection, and connection is about empathy, curiosity, and emotional courage. Realizing I don't have everything figured out, but if I can communicate and be vulnerable with the team, like saying, hey, like our goal is to grow this business and I'm trying to figure it out on how we do this. This is the things that I've tried. It's going to be a lot easier to have those types of leadership conversations and connect with them, because there's the empathy that goes both ways. What are some like takeaways? And then if there's anything inside of here that you guys have applied to yourself, I would love to hear how you guys have applied one of these points to your guys' business.